Hello everyone, it's your favorite talking eggplant here, and today we're going to be playing Blackberry Honey, a game where two maids fall in love during the Victorian era. And I did want to play this game for a while, finally got around to it. It did cost me 13 smackaroons though, and yeah. So we're just going to start. This is a romantic visual novel, and it does involve two girls falling in love. So, if that's something you don't like, you can just get out. But if that's something you do like, then you are welcome. Welcome. Anyway, let us begin. The night sky was dark. A few stars twinkled up above, just tiny pinpricks like split granules of sugar. Also, please excuse my reading. I don't usually read out loud. This is like my first time. The stars looked so small and far away, it tugged at something within the young woman's heart. Was this the same sky her family could see? Were these the same stars? Was this moon the same moon? She didn't know. She hadn't seen her family in so long. But she couldn't think about that now. If she did, she was sure she would cry, and she didn't want to do that. She refused. She'd always been stubborn. That was how she'd ended up in this mess. What? The girl had been riding in the back of a horse-drawn cab for upwards of 14 hours, from 7 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock at night. Her legs, which had been cramped up in a space far too small for them for far too long, hurt like gave me a stroke. Even as she stood there, doing nothing more strenuous than simply existing, her body trembled. It felt like a mischievous imp was inserting needles into the back of her legs. She could hear, in the distance, the sound of horses' hooves striking against the ground. The carriage was lurching away beneath the cover of the night. There was nowhere else for her to go. Nowhere for her to run. All she could do was stare at the wrought iron gates before her and the large, imposing house beyond. Bly. It was worlds apart from the girl's home in Liverpool, which she had shared for many years with her mother and two sisters. 3 sisters now, given the recent birth of the youngest, Alice. Little Alice. But she would never be able to see Alice grow up. She swallowed, her throat convulsed. So this was to be her new place of residence, but not her home. She could never call it her home. How sad is that? There was something horribly austere about the place, not helped by the sinister shadows that enveloped everything. The trees in the vast, expansive garden were tall and skinny. They stood sentinel, their bows waving in the breeze, almost like ghosts. Skeletal soldiers. Bly, with its crumbling walls and darkened windows, seemed like the kind of place that would have a ghost story or two. It had existed long enough. Built in the early part of the 17th century, the girl had heard. How many ghosts lurked within those walls? Soon, she would find out. Her carpet bag was balanced in the crook of her arm. It was small and had a dent in the side, impossible to remove. She knew because she had tried. All her worldly belongings were stowed inside that single bag. A few set of clothes, a hairbrush, an old battered volume of Robinson Crusoe. That was all. There were no toiletries, no jewelry, not even a second pair of shoes. She couldn't afford such luxuries. She was only a maid. A maid at Bly, working in the service of the Leonard family. She'd never met the Leonard family before, but the Pickering's housekeeper, Miss Mary Ann, had told her they were not so very bad. There was the mistress, Lady Louisa Leonard, the husband, Lord Albert Leonard, like a certain Albert Wesker, perhaps, who was often away on business trips, and then there was their sole daughter and heir to the family fortune, Lady Constance Leonard. She could handle that much, couldn't she? like 2.5 people, basically, since the father's gone all the time. She hoped so. She had to. She didn't have a choice. She drew in a deep breath. The cold air tugged at her hair and her skirts. Her fingers trembled. They were starting to turn blue. The wind seemed to suck the air out of her lungs. It felt like a cold hand was pressing against her larynx. She choked on her own breath. Her eyes stung, but she wouldn't cry. She already told herself she wouldn't. Instead, trying to gather what little scraps of self-confidence she still possessed. You can do this. There's no turning back now. Lorena Waugh, only 19 years of age, clutched her bag to her chest and straightened her back. She wasn't one to back down from a challenge. Just how bad could Bly possibly be? Ebi-Hime. Oh, I don't know if I forgot to mention, this game has, like, suggestive themes. But anything that needs to be censored, I will. Don't worry, I got it. The lady. I wonder if those are her friends. Dude, I used to play the violin until we had a new orchestra teacher who didn't know how to play a single string instrument, and he didn't even know how to help us, like, correct things. The only thing he could help us with was, like, just all he could do was say, "You're playing the wrong note. That has to be like a C sharp." And then you literally couldn't even ask him, "Oh, how do I do that?" Like, he didn't know. I'm never gonna shut up about that guy. That was a really cute song. The 16th of March, Wednesday. Oh hey, it's the 3rd of March, Tuesday. We're kind of twinning, honestly. When Lorena Waugh opened her eyes, she was met with the same dismal sight that had greeted her every morning for the last 4 months. A gray ceiling peppered here and there with ominous cracks, heralding the inevitable day when it would one day collapse under its own weight. For the time being, however, this is where Lorena was to sleep. Her very own bedroom in Bly. Not that it was her bedroom, of course. It was a small, tightly packed attic she had shared with 5 of her fellow maids. Isobel, Pauline, Ada, Effie, and the Swiss-born Liselot. If I mispronounce her name, I'm sorry. The other maids were arising, stretching and yawning, complaining. Isobel and Pauline were the worst for it. They always complained. Lorena supposed it was very English in a way, but she rather wished they wouldn't. Ugh, my head feels so thick. Must mean there's rain coming. It always bloody rains around here. Wouldn't be England without it. I like the rain. Good on you, Effie. Good morning, Lorena. Lorena stretched up and sat in bed. The thin sheets pooled around her body. The sheets were stained and rarely offered any warmth, not even in the spring, Still, Lorena supposed it was better than nothing. Look on the bright side. That's what her mother would say. There's always a silver lining. Said, silver lining being Lorena's fellow maid, Ada. Oh, I said that so weird. Said silver lining being Lorena's fellow maid. Ada was rather young, only a year or so older than Lorena, and the two maids had formed something of an alliance. They were both the oldest sisters in largest families, and they both worked in order to support their siblings. My voice is so tired. The only difference was Ada had 3 younger brothers. Lorena had 3 sisters. Good morning, Ada. Good. What's so good about it, exactly? It's just a figure of speech. I don't care what it is. It's blinking ridiculous. Here, here. Does anyone want to wake up at 5 o'clock? Not unless you're a fitness influencer. Maybe masochists. I must be bloody masochistic working here. My fingers are shot to pieces. They're shaking. I'll never be able to light the fires like this. Oh, don't talk about fires. I'm frigid. Oh, what the heck did I just do? Last night was cold. You think that was cold? That was nothing compared to the winters in Andermatt. And in case you hadn't realized, Lyslot, you're not in Switzerland anymore. Dude, I do not like Pauline. Ah, yes. Oh, how I miss it. The sun rising over the Alps is truly a sight to behold. I wish you could all see it. That does sound rather lovely. Dude, Ada's so freaking cute. So is Lyslot. She's adorable, dude. Though she got that look in her eyes, like when you take a picture of someone with the camera flash on and their like irises reflect. I forgot what that's called. But it's more common in like dogs. They say the air in the Alps is very good for circulation. I am sure it would do you wonders. Do you really think so? Oh yes, I know so. Unfortunately, there are no Alps to behold here. Get your head out of the clouds, Lottie, or I'll shove it up a chimney. Oh, I think I might just call her Lottie. You English women are so very witty. Witty was the last word Lorena would have used in conjunction with Isobel, but she decided to keep that to herself. With a small yawn, the young maid stretched her arms above her head. She was unsure what time it was exactly, but it must have been around 5 o'clock in the morning, like they just said. Mornings came for the servants of Bly several hours earlier than they did for Lady Leonard and her privileged offspring, Lady Constance. The servants had to wake up at unforgiving hours, before even the sun had started to rise. It was their lot in life to scuttle about soundlessly, creeping through the shadowy hallways, opening the shutters, polishing the fireplaces, dusting the mantelpieces, and so on and so forth. It never ended. From 5 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock at night, the maids of Bly were fully occupied with their work. There wasn't a single moment where they could sit down and rest. Maybe that was why Isobel and Pauline, who had been maids for longer than the others, were so snappish and irritable. I mean, like, I can understand being, like, tired and, like, upset, fed up with your job and everything, but, like, doesn't mean you gotta be, like, an ass to your coworkers, basically. You know what I mean? Like, you'll see. It didn't help that the head butler, Grant Lester, sounds like a certain Uncle Mo Lester. From, like, whatever, was such a stickler for the rules. He was incredibly strict, perhaps more so than Lady Leonard herself. Hey, Lorena. Pauline, who was already dressed, gave Lorena a disparaging look. Were you planning on getting dressed at some point, or are you just gonna sit there? Oh, Lorena scrambled to her feet, throwing the covers to one side. She had been so immersed in her idle fancy she had quite forgotten. Pauline snickered. I don't like that word. So did Isobel. I'm sorry. I'm getting ready right away. Don't apologize to us. Apologize to Mr. Lester when you're late coming downstairs. Again. I'm getting dressed right now, I am. Do you want us to applaud? Like, see, that's what I'm talking about. We shan't wait for you, you know. Let's go. We'll all be old women by the time she's finished. But that includes you too, Ada. Well, alright. Sorry, Lorena. I won't forget that, Ada. Don't apologize to her, stupid. She gets scolded, she'll deserve it. On her own head be it. I understand. Sorry. And you, Lottie? Are you coming, or are you still thinking about Switzerland? I am always thinking of Switzerland, but I do not want to be scolded by Mr. Lester. He is so very strict. Lottie gave Lorena an apologetic smile. I will see you later, Lorena. If you ever have cause to feel down, just think of the Alps. Oh, I will. Not that Lorena knew what the Alps looked like. She didn't know very much, really. She never had cause to travel beyond the borders of her home country. Being a maid, she'd probably never get the chance. Her future was already set in stone. Kind of like this room that we're standing in, like stone walls. Later that morning. Is this the one you wanted? Lady Constance made a show of pondering, index finger tapping against her lower lip, before she shook her head. No, that is obviously not good enough. The leaves have been eaten by caterpillars. Look. I can't see anything wrong with it myself. Then you are blind. Or perhaps you're just being a little madam. Lorena muttered mutinously under her breath. Dude. My brain is fried. She knew she wasn't supposed to speak ill of her social betters. Though, had Lady Constance been one of Lorena's younger sisters, Lorena would have lost her temper already. Now that's a bit suspicious, isn't it? Do you beat your sisters? Sorry. Well, if you don't like it, I can always look for another. See to it that you do. I cannot stand having a display of withered roses in my bedroom. I bet you couldn't. What was that? Oh, nothing, just talking to myself. Well, don't. Mother says that's a sign of madness. Perhaps she was mad, Lorena mused. She must have been, to take Lady Constance's abuse. If she'd had 1 ounce of sense, she would have slapped Lady Constance right across her smug little face, 12 years old or not. In fact, it was precisely because Lady Constance was 12 years old that she needed disciplining. If no one gave her a stern talking to, Lorena feared Lady Constance would become quite an unpleasant person when she got older. Like, Pauline? Even more unpleasant than she was already. If Lady Constance had been a sweet, innocent child who enjoyed tucking herself into small corners and reading books, she would have been a pleasure to serve. Lorena would have gone out of her way to make life as comfortable as possible for this imaginary Constance. The real Constance, however, was not so lovely. Real little girls never were. Though they were depicted as sweet, delicate angels in plays and poems, the reality was rather different. Now, maid. Maid? I have a name, you know. Try to find me some roses that look nice. It shouldn't be too hard. Joe has strict orders to only let the most beautiful roses bloom in this garden. I hope I'm not being too annoying with the voice I'm giving her. Though I guess wouldn't that be the point? She's like annoying 12-year-old. I don't know. Yes, miss. But that was easier said than done. If the roses within Lorena's immediate vicinity were not acceptable, for whatever make-believe reason Lady Constance had dreamt up, she would need to search harder. What about the roses that were further back in the thicket? Lorena began to search, brushing some of the roses to one side. The flowers were undeniably beautiful, their pink petals as soft as velvet, but the thorns were numerous. They were sharp and pointed, just waiting to spill blood. Vampire flowers, kinda. Lorena shied away like a reluctant pony, her fingertips trembling, kinda like my throat. The thorns promised pain, and she had no desire to cause herself unnecessary grief. Lady Constance, meanwhile, was unsympathetic. The little girl tutted and sighed and tapped her right foot against the ground, her brown eyes rolling about inside her head the whole while. This should be easy, maid. I don't understand why you're taking so long. It would be easy, Lorena wished she could retort, if somebody was not so hell-bent on making this so complicated. But of course she didn't say that, not even under her breath. It wouldn't have been worth it. Is this rose to your liking, miss? No. That isn't good enough at all. Then this one? No. I only want the best roses in my room. Anything less would be an insult. Unless... Are you trying to insult me? Of course not, miss. Then take this more seriously. You are a maid, aren't you? Yes, miss. Then you should do everything within your powers to keep me happy. Yes, miss. Start doing your job properly. I ordered you to pick me the best roses, and that's what I expect. The best roses are the ones right at the back, so you need to look a little deeper. But miss... What? Didn't you hear what I just said? I gave you an order. I realize that, but... Are those ears of yours just for show? You were listening to me, weren't you? Yes, I understand. You understand what? I understand, miss. If you understand, start looking. I won't leave until you've picked at least one acceptable rose. Yes, miss. Ah! Left with no other alternative, the young maid continued her search amongst the flower beds. Her arms trembled. So too did her eyelashes. I've never heard of someone's eyelashes trembling. Just think about that. Your eyelashes? How do those tremble? They don't have any muscles. I don't know. It's a bit silly. Her whole body was tense and taut. One wrong move and she would lacerate her skin in not just one, but 2, 3, 4, 5, 15 places. Then she would start swearing under her breath and blinking tears out of her eyes. Lorena didn't want to show such a weak side of her character to Lady Constance. She could hardly bear the thought. But that's probably why Lady Constance liked picking on her. Lorena had too much pride, but she got flustered easily and couldn't always stand up for herself. She wasn't like the parlor maid. She would never be like the parlor maid. Not that she wanted to be. The parlor maid was a cold woman, aloof and distant, who only ever spoke to Lorena to pass malicious comments. Her barbed statements slid beneath the skin more effectively than 1,000 thorns from 1,000 roses. The parlor maid's words hurt, and Lorena didn't even know why. It wasn't as though Lorena wanted her approval. She didn't like her. She didn't like her at all. Why was it, then, that Lorena's throat felt dry whenever she saw her, and her stomach fluttered, and she couldn't look her in the eye, and she... or gasp. Lorena gasped in shock and stumbled away from the rosebush, clasping her hand to her chest. 3 wounds crisscrossed against the back of her right hand. 2 of them were shallow, superficial, oozing droplets of crimson blood no bigger than pinheads. But the other was far bigger. This cut had cleaved a chunk of flesh out of her hand, stripping back the skin like a roll of wallpaper. Yuck. Lorena stared at her hand, and then at the ground. There were splotches of blood. Her blood, just inches away from her right foot. She shook her head. She felt sick. Blood didn't often make Lorena feel faint, but there was quite a lot of it, and she didn't want to smear her apron. Valid. And to make matters worse, there was a thorn embedded in the back of her hand. It emerged from the open wound like a piece of thread through the eye of a needle. Sounds like it was a really big cut. Don't bleed all over the flower beds, idiot. What do you think you're doing? No, don't tell me. I know the answer. You weren't thinking at all. You maids really are useless. Then why don't you do it yourself? My. How did you do that to yourself? It was an accident. Well, I should hope you didn't do it on purpose. That would be quite the foolish thing to do. Oh my god, she's blushing! Lorena glowered. Her cheeks flustered. Literally what I said. Oh wait, I'm supposed to end it here. Sorry to leave it on such like a cliffhanger, but this video is almost 30 minutes long and I don't want to make it too long, especially for the first video. So this is just the beginning. I will do part 2 next week. So if you made it this far, thank you. For even clicking on the video at all, actually, but thank you. And yeah, basically, see you next week. Bye.